For today's business matters, Easter spending is expected to be higher this year, according to a report from the National Retail Federation. Despite economic uncertainty, shoppers plan to spend $23.6 billion this Easter, over $1 billion more than last year. The bulk of the spending is done on candy, which accounts for over $3 billion in spending. And those chocolate eggs might cost more this year. The price of cocoa has been rising for several years due to crop shortages from droughts. While startup Archer waits for FAA approval for its electric air taxi, it's unveiling its launch plans for New York. Archer has partnered with United Airlines for its proposed service, which it says could drastically cut travel times between Manhattan and surrounding airports. Archer said New York is the best first market since there is strong demand and existing helicopter infrastructure. Its goal is to also launch service in LA, San Francisco, and Miami. A lawsuit launched against gamer chat app Discord. It's accused of endangering kids. New Jersey officials say the app created an online environment where children were easy targets. Attorney General Matt Platkin blames Discord's default setting, which allows anyone to friend anyone. He noted there are several child predator cases the state has prosecuted with links to Discord. A Discord spokesperson disputed the allegations and said it's proud of its continuous efforts to make the app safer. The Trump administration is trying to promote the American shipbuilding industry, and part of the plan is to impose hefty fees on ships that were built in China. But the administration is now offering exemptions for certain ships. NTD Sean Marshall has details.
The Trump administration is backing off some of the port fees it's planning to levy on ships that were built in China. The fees, originally designed to encourage the use of ships built in the USA, were supposed to be as high as $1.5 million per port call, which shocked the global shipping industry. The Trump administration has revised the initial plan by announcing exemptions for domestic exporters and vessel owners servicing the Great Lakes, the Caribbean, and the U.S. territories. Empty ships that collect U.S. exports will also be exempt, and the fee will apply once per voyage rather than at every port. Ocean shipping transports about 80% of global trade, from food and furniture to cement and coal. Industry executives feared that virtually every cargo carrier would be hit. Opponents expressed fear that fees could total as much as $3 million per ship per call. They said carriers would likely consolidate calls at the biggest container gateways, which would bypass smaller ports and cause congestion at the largest hubs. The fees were proposed by the U.S. Trade Representative following an investigation of China's maritime industry, which was requested by a group of American labor unions. The investigation found that China leveraged unfair trade practices to gain dominance in the shipbuilding industry. Sean Marshall, NTD News.
The Penn Station rebuild is now in the hands of the federal government. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy announced that New York's MTA has been pulled from the project. It will now be led by Amtrak, who owns the Midtown Manhattan station that sits under Madison Square Garden. It will be backed by the Transportation Department. Duffy said this will save taxpayers about $120 million. That's because the federal grant for the project has been slashed, and the Trump administration will be leveraging private investments. New York's governor thanked the president and called this a major victory that would save New Yorkers tax money. Rare earth metals are now at the center of the trade war between the world's two largest economies. The only rare earth mine in the U.S. is ceasing shipments to China due to retaliatory tariffs. Here's more.
This could be the canary in the rare earth mine. MP Materials, the company who runs the only rare earth mine in America, announced it would no longer ship to China. The company said selling critical materials under 125% tariffs is neither commercially rational or aligned with national interest. Rare earth elements are key to producing magnets, electric vehicles, smartphones, advanced fighter jets, and much more. MP had been preparing for this move. The company says it has invested nearly $1 billion to restore the full rare earth supply in the U.S., and more than 70% of its revenue comes from sales outside of China. But when it comes to the rare earth industry, China dominates. It has the biggest mines and supplies nearly all the world's rare earths. Recent restrictions Beijing issued for its rare earths exports has highlighted the need for the Trump administration and U.S. manufacturers to reduce its dependence on China. The MP mine cannot meet the U.S. demand for rare earths. Experts expect prices to go up and say there's likely enough supply to keep factories running for now.
Home improvement retailer Lowe's is following rival Home Depot's business blueprint. Lowe's has acquired Artisan Design Group for just over $1 billion. ADG provides design, distribution, and installation services with a focus on flooring, cabinets, and countertops. Lowe's said the addition of ADG will help grow Lowe's Pro business. Its CEO said the move will allow the company to expand its addressable market by about $50 billion. The deal is expected to close in the second quarter of this year. Home Depot made a similar acquisition about a year ago. It bought SRS Distribution for just over $18 billion. A New York Fed bank survey says Americans are as anxious about unemployment now as they were in the early days of the COVID-19 pandemic. For those jumping into the job hunt now, economists say some sectors will be steadier than others. Here's more.
The U.S. labor market has been resilient and robust, riding a more than 4-year streak of employment gains through March. But an increasing number of Americans feel that's going to change. Consumers surveyed by the Federal Reserve Bank of New York in March put a 44% probability on U.S. unemployment climbing higher within the next year. That's the highest level since April 2020, the early days of the COVID-19 pandemic. And it's another recent reading that points to consumer pessimism amid economic confusion.
Uncertainty is always going to make it difficult to even digest information that you do have. And there is a lot of uncertainty around the economic situation right now.
Allison Srivastava, economist with the Indeed Hiring Lab, says the uncertainty impacts businesses too. Companies may not lay workers off, but may hesitate to fill openings, potentially making the job hunt more challenging. Certain sectors, though, are driving forward. Among them, Srivastava says healthcare, legal, and production and manufacturing.
There are some bright spots in the economy, but things are a little bit on hold, and it's a little bit shaky when things are on hold. So planning for the future is difficult.
And for soon-to-be grads, Srivastava sees entry-level opportunities in in-person sectors like pharmacy, food services, and home health care.
That may not be a long-term goal for a lot of graduates. It does allow you to kind of get some experience on your resume until you can kind of figure out what your next steps are.
In Washington, I'm Karen Kafa.
Buying a Birkin bag will soon cost even more, at least for customers in the United States. Hermès, the French luxury company known for its handbags and scarves, says it will soon be raising prices in the U.S. On Thursday, an executive with Hermès said the company will use the price increase to offset the additional 10% tariffs on its exports to America. The new higher pricing will take effect on May 1st. Capital One and Discover are a step closer to merging and becoming the largest credit card company in the U.S. Two key regulators have approved Capital One acquiring Discover, and that helps pave the way for the merger's completion. To get full approval, Capital One must provide the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency with a plan to address several issues. The all-stock deal was first announced over a year ago. Netflix is upbeat about the future. The streaming TV service has seen a worldwide rise in subscribers and has beaten revenue estimates. Here's the story.
Netflix is feeling bullish about the future. The streaming giant said Thursday that it wasn't seeing any shifts in consumer behavior as a result of recent market turbulence. That eased Wall Street fears that customers could cut back on spending amid economic worries. Netflix shares rose 2.7% in after-hours trade following the confident outlook. The stock is now up about 9% so far this year, compared with a 10% slump for the benchmark S&P 500 index. For the first quarter, Netflix reported revenue of just over $10.5 billion. That edged ahead of analyst estimates. Earnings per share also beat forecasts. The company was boosted by hit shows including UK crime drama Adolescence. With more than 300 million global customers, Netflix has continued to sign up subscribers worldwide. The company says users have flocked to its lower-priced, ad-supported tier. Co-CEO Greg Peters said he expected demand to stay strong even if there is an economic downturn.
Now, you probably already know that many fast food restaurants are owned by franchisees. But what happens when those companies go bankrupt? Well, it's happening now to Consolidated Burger Holdings. After 2 years of declining sales, the company has filed for bankruptcy. It's based in the Florida Panhandle town of Destin, and it operates 57 Burger King restaurants. Consolidated Burger's reach goes down to Palm Beach and up to South Georgia. It will continue operating those restaurants while it looks for a buyer. The company will likely have to get more aggressive, though. It's been trying to find a buyer for 7 months now. The U.S. State Department yesterday accused a Chinese firm of directly supporting attacks on U.S. interests by Iran-backed Houthi fighters. The State Department called this unacceptable. And earlier, the Financial Times cited U.S. officials as saying that the satellite company was supplying Houthi rebels with imagery to target U.S. warships and international vessels in the Red Sea. It said the company is linked to China's military.
We can confirm the reporting that Changguang Satellite Technology Company Limited is directly supporting Iran-backed Houthi terrorist attacks on U.S. interests. We urge our partners to judge the Chinese Communist Party and Chinese companies on their actions, not their empty words. Restoring freedom of navigation in the Red Sea is a priority to President Trump. The United States will not tolerate anyone providing support to foreign terrorist organizations such as the Houthis. China consistently attempts, as you know, to frame itself as a global peacemaker. And however, it is clear that Beijing and China-based companies provide key economic and technical support to regimes like Russia, North Korea, and Iran and its proxies. The CCP continues to enable these regimes, whether it be through the provision of dual-use items Russia needs to sustain its war in Ukraine, North Korea's ballistic missile development, or Iran's support of terrorism across the Middle East.
State Department spokesperson Tammy Bruce said the assistance by the firm to the Houthis had continued even though the United States has engaged with Beijing on the issue. The spokesperson for China's Washington embassy said he was not familiar with the situation, so had no comment. The firm did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Both the New York Stock Exchange and NASDAQ are closed for Good Friday today. Regular trading will resume on Monday, and after that, the markets will close again on May 26th for Memorial Day. Then, less than a month after, it closes again on June 19th for Juneteenth and July 4th for Independence Day. After-hours trading is generally not available on market holidays. And that's it on today's Business Matters.